I think it's a problem, it's a problem. There's a lot of problems in the world. It's just another one of those problems, There's more severe things go on, that you just don't have so much publicity about. Just things like cancer, there's more people die of cancer or lung cancer, and women die of cancer all the time. It's just that this is highlighted, and it can be prevented. It can be prevented simply by using a condom, So it's just sex awareness will, prevent getting that disease. You can't prevent yourself from getting cancer, certain forms of cancer. Possibly, yes, and we'd like to think that music can hopefully help to change people, or at least make people think about their lives and think about certain problems or issues, But nevertheless, we don't feel a strong responsibility as musicians to enforce change or to deal with specific issues. We feel we have the right to write about any subject that we feel we want to write about, and that's the end of it. In terms of charity has obviously become very much to the forefront and has been very closely linked with music over the last 2 or 3 or even 5 years, in fact. But I think there's a strong feeling amongst a lot of people that it actually can be quite distasteful the way certain artists can be seen to promote their own careers through charity, and in fact it can also give that particular charity a bad name. And we're very aware of that problem. We don't want to be seen in any way to be promoting ourselves through promoting events. We feel that if we want to donate anything to a cause or help a cause in any way, then we'll do it privately. Generally, we don't like to put a label on it. Other people obviously like to put labels on your music and put you in a little bag. We like to keep it fairly open. We just consider that we write good pop music, and musically we treat each song individually. We do obviously tend towards electronics and technology, and we feel that's an interesting approach. It gives you more variety of sound, more possibility of sound. So to us, that's interesting to explore that. But aside from that, we don't really like to label it. I think, we've been going for 10 years now, and we use different technology all the time, but we still use those acoustic instruments, we still use guitars and things. It's just, technology moves too fast, really, as well, but at the same time, people are going to continue to use those kind of things, it's not going to suddenly stop, and people are going to continue to use guitars and drums and bass and the traditional sort of format, if you like, of a band, But, it doesn't really make any difference. The songs are the most important thing, not the type of instrument. They're all tools of the trade, and people use them, some people use them well, some people don't use them so well. It's really not that important in the end. It's very difficult to sum up, in a short sentence. There's good and bad music in every music. It doesn't have to be, it can be from any country in the world, and you've got good music and bad music. And you just have to search harder for the good music. It just seems to be a lot more bad music comes out of America, but that's just our personal opinion, But I think there's a lot of interesting groups that come out of England. It's always been at the forefront of new groups, new ideas and new sounds, have often come out of England, which is really good. I just think it's because it's a very small country and things move very fast there. It's quite interesting the way sort of music just gets bounced around from culture to culture, and a lot of American musical culture does influence the Europeans, and then it gets thrown back in a different sort of format, when it comes back to America, perhaps, But originally, a lot of that so-called American culture came from Europe, from the Celts and the, various different groups from Europe. So it's trying to trace it all back through the different, through black and white. Black musicians at the moment are taking quite a lot of influence from white music, white rock music, which originally came from sort of black blues and R&B, so. I think none of us, we're not directly influenced by any one particular sound or one particular band, but we listen to a very wide variety of music. So, and there's black music in there and white music, and guitar-based music and electronic music. So,
El evento. En exclusiva. DEPECHE MODE.
I'll probably dig his older. Well, yeah, when I was a teenager, I used to like the Beatles and people like David Bowie and a lot. I used to sort of start listening to a lot of old blues music at that time, and then your taste change as the years go by. I think, now I like to keep a very open mind about all kinds of different forms of music, and I like music ranging from classical right through to metal, so there's all kinds of things. Radio. I don't often listen to the radio, only if we've got a record out and you're just waiting to hear it.
Estamos sufriendo una metamorfosis. Metamorfosis número 90. Spring Break. El evento. Estrenos mundiales. En exclusiva.
I think it's important to every band to feel that they are gaining some kind of success and that they're moving on and they're gaining more fans. It's important to your whole feeling of it. If in a country, everywhere in the world, suddenly you're not very successful, then it's not very good for your morale in the band. And for us, I think success is important, although we don't, I don't think we seem to rely on it. We don't sort of thrive on it, but it is important to us nonetheless. Well, it was quite an easy experience because having decided that we wanted to do it and who we wanted to work with, which was DEPECHE, it was then quite a simple process of allowing him to just do exactly what he does, which is very simple. He comes along, he spent maybe 2 months on the road with us in America, and he has a very, very small team of people who don't impose or get in the way. They didn't ask us to act in any way or be in any way out of the ordinary. So for us, we just carried on doing our normal everyday activities on tour and allowed him to film whatever he wanted to film. And then when he edited the film, again, he had virtual total control over that. We just occasionally came along and commented on it. So it was quite an enjoyable experience to work with him, and I think all of us, pretty pleased with the end result. We took the name. I took the name from a French magazine when I was at college. It was just the name of the magazine, so we just stole it.
La metamorfosis número 90. La metamorfosis 90. Spring Break. DEPECHE MODE.
Well, we've only been here for about 14 hours. We just flew in. So we don't really know it yet. I mean, we've heard a lot about Mexico, especially Mexico being very exciting, and we've only got a couple of days here, so it would be nice to spend a bit more time, but we've got other commitments at home. But what we've seen so far, the people, very nice. I expected to see more evidence of the earthquake. I haven't actually seen it. 100 years ago. Yeah. Well, I think we can tell you how it came about, really. It started off as a ballad, really, a slow song. And when Martin presented the song, first of all, it was just an organ and a voice. And we just thought it might be interesting to take a completely different approach with it. So we tried to do, I had an idea to maybe do it as an up-tempo, almost high energy. And so we thought we'd try that, and then it seemed to work well, So we started off with this rhythm track, really, and then we built upon that. Martin came up with a really good guitar lead melody sort of thing, and that's how it came about. And as with most of our more successful records, it was very easy to record. The ones that have done very well traditionally have actually come together very easily. And this one sort of came together in a matter of a few days, and we all thought it was quite strong.
evento. En exclusiva. DEPECHE MODE.
No, I mean, Martin, up until this album, Martin, I mean, over the last few albums, Martin had pretty finished demos that, you know, got all the melodies there and structures and everything, and we might change some things slightly, but with this album there was a bit more work involved in the actual sort of arrangements and structures once we got into the studio. So basically, Martin comes up with the ideas for song lyrics, melodies, chords and everything, and
came with the lyrics and with the idea.
yeah, well, this time we said to Martin we wanted more basic demo tapes so that we could take the songs in different directions in the studio. So this time Martin came with quite a simple demo, maybe guitar and a voice, or sometimes one or two keyboard parts, but nothing, you know, too finished. And then that enabled us as a group to all work together very much on the music and maybe take the songs in completely different directions. Sometimes we took them in the same direction, you know. That's really the way it happens.
How long is it?
We spent overall about a year making Violator, but it wasn't a whole year in the studio. We'd work for 6 weeks and then we'd take 2 weeks out and then we'd go back in the studio somewhere else, and that continued throughout the year from the start of sort of programming and the songs originally. We started recording in May, I think it was, in Milan. And we did about 6 weeks in Milan, but because Milan's quite an exciting city, we tended to go out a lot, and we didn't get too much work done. But we did record Personal Jesus during that time, and also a couple of other tracks. But then after that, after we had a break, we went to Denmark, and the studio in Denmark's in the middle of nowhere, so we had to work really. So we did most of the work in Denmark, and then we mixed the album in London with a guy called Francois Kevorkian, who's a New Yorker, and he came over to London and mixed it with us. Before that, though, we'd been working with a guy called Flood, who we'd never worked with before, and he was recommended to us by Daniel at Mute, and we got on very well with Flood, and you know, he was very much involved in the album too. It's hard work. Yeah. It's hard work. I mean, there's this general feeling from some people that you make a record, then you sit back and wait for the royalties to come in. So it's hard work. I mean, we work 7 days a week, and you know, we haven't had a day off for a long while now. We've been on a promotional schedule for a long while. We've been in Europe for weeks, then we went to America. We were in New York, we were in LA, and now we've come here. And we're going back and we start rehearsing, and then we start on the road at the end of May. So. And then we'll be on the road for pretty much the rest of the year. Basically, we haven't stopped since we started, really. You know, we haven't had a serious break. And also because we do manage ourselves, you know, it's a whole added pressure to everything you do. You have to constantly think about the business side of it. You know, we like to take control over every single aspect of the group, you know, right from artwork through to videos, through to obviously the records, you know, all aspects of the group, the live performance. You know, we don't let anybody else take care of these things. We do everything. And it's a lot of work. You know, people don't appreciate the work that goes into keeping a group like us going these days. Well, I'm a bit of both. I mean, when you've been in the studio for a year, you want to play a gig, you know. But at the moment, I mean, we've got a tour coming up, and we've got a lot of pressure on us to complete the tour. It's a long while, you know, and we're pretty tired at the moment, you know. We haven't stopped really since we finished the album, and we need a break really before the tour, but we haven't really got one, so
Estamos sufriendo una metamorfosis. Metamorfosis número 90. Spring Break, el evento. Estrenos mundiales en exclusiva. DEPECHE MODE.
I like The Cure, yeah. I like some U2 stuff. I think they've... I mean, U2 have a similar sort of pattern to their success to what DEPECHE MODE have in some ways. In the way that they built their career by going out and playing live all the time. And things for them in America happened really slowly, and the same thing happened for us, and then suddenly become very successful. And so they have a big, hard fan following as well, and the same as The Cure. bands like that I respect a lot more than bands that just come on the scene, have one big record, never tour, never played live, you know, don't play their instruments. You know. The possibilities of doing some concerts here. I mean, nothing's come together at all yet. Depends on promoters and us getting here. It's very difficult to get down here to play concerts. People don't realise how difficult it is. You have to come through customs and immigration, and sometimes you can get right to the point of where you're about to do the concert the next day, and they say, sorry, we'll take your visas away. And that's the way it is. I mean, that's why bands don't come down there. It's too much trouble.